Hello, my name is Riccardo Mogre. I'm an associate professor in operations management at Durham University Business School and a fellow of the Durham Energy Institute. Today, I'm going to talk about our recent study on temporary workers in energy construction projects. This is a joint work with Ivana Kostic and Kamran Sarmadi. The motivation for this project comes from our previous research on the offshore wind supply chains. In particular, we studied the situation in which a small supplier wins a large order but prefers to hire temporary workers and not permanent workers because they don't know if they'll be able to secure future projects. This case got us interested in studying causes and effects of temporary workers in the energy industry. Recent reports confirm that temporary workers are a substantial part of the workforce in the energy industry. In this study, we focused on energy construction projects in particular that, because of their scale, employ many workers, including temporary workers. Previous academic literature on temporary workers in the energy industry is very limited, but it's possible to identify some contributions in different industries. These look at the causes behind using temporary workers and study the effects of this temporary workforce. Among the main causes identified in the literature, we have demand and supply uncertainty. We also have a drive for cost reduction because of competition. Employing temporary workers can help companies grow in a short period of time, but the effects of temporary contracts are not always positive, especially in terms of the low training support that these workers receive. We conducted an exploratory study to identify the reasons for and the effects of temporary workers in the energy construction projects. We carried out a virtual focus group with a subject expert and validated their insights with a questionnaire. This technique is called hybrid Delphi. We identified three main causes for the use of temporary workers. First, market uncertainty. In particular, the tender mechanism to award contracts can contribute to making the demand more uncertain. Second, supply uncertainty. This is true for workers required for specific technical roles that can be in a short supply. Finally, the presence of an external labor supply agency facilitates the use of temporary workers because they benefit from economy of scale. Perhaps surprisingly, cost reduction, which is a cause commonly mentioned in the literature, wasn't identified in our study. As for the effects, we identified three main effects of the use of temporary workers. A positive effect of the employment of temporary workers is the enhancement of short-term growth of companies, which is important when the sector is expanding. However, employing temporary workers may weaken long-term productivity. Routinely training and retraining new starters can be one of the reasons for this issue. Finally, employing temporary workers may not provide an incentive to invest in worker skill beyond the immediate needs of a project. We plan to extend this exploratory study by conducting a larger scale study sometime in the future, in one or more of the possible research directions. At the firm level, we can study how the tender mechanism and management policies affect the employment of temporary workers. At the sector level, we could investigate the relationship between the employment of temporary workers and company growth, or the relationship between the employment of temporary workers and company productivity. This can be done with reference to a specific sector, for example, the offshore wind sector. Finally, we could study the implications of temporary employment on worker skills and employability. The results of this last study could be useful for policymakers. We published a Durham Energy Institute briefing report on this study. Send me an email if you'd like the report, or if you'd like to be updated about our future research plans. Thanks for your attention. Enjoy the rest of the event.